everyone, I'm Brea and welcome to my Summerween vlog. So if you're not familiar, Summerween is a readathon that is hosted by Gabby from Gabby Reads. And essentially we're just reading thriller horror books, getting all the spooky vibes in the middle of summer. And so with this readathon, there are prompts you're supposed to be hitting as well as like some content creation challenges, but I'll address some of the prompts throughout the video. So I'm going to try and read 3 books. I will tell you right now though that my Summerween is a little bit shortened compared to what the full readathon should be, just because I got started a little later and I just didn't have as many days, but you'll see how that ended up. And the first book I'll be reading for this vlog is Tender is the Flesh, and this is a horror book that just follows a world where people consume humans for meat instead of animals. And then we have Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This is one that I think a lot of people are reading for Summerween. It is Riley Sager's latest thriller book. And this book just follows a man who his best friend went missing 30 years ago, and he returns back to his childhood home where his friend disappeared. And while he's there, some weird things start to happen. People are lurking in some shadows, and he really just tries to uncover the mystery of what happened to his friend 30 years ago. And then lastly for the readathon, I'm going to try and read Murder Your Employer, McMaster's Guide to Homicide by Rupert Holmes. And this is essentially what the title says. It's, you know, about this academy or school where they teach you how to murder your employer. And this was a thriller that I really just bought as a cover buy, but I'm excited to finally finish this one up. So with the prompts, these books do hit on a few, but I'm just gonna be trying to hit bingo. Okay, sometimes I can be an overachiever in life, but this is not gonna be one of those cases, okay? So let's just go ahead and get into the vlog. Have you ever just like come home from doing something, you've kind of had a tough day, but you're like, wow, I'm glad that I'm carrying the day well. But then you get home and look in the mirror and you're like, actually, I look like the day that I've had. That's what I felt like just now when I got home. But I'm glad to be here doing this Summerween vlog. I started Tender is the Flesh last night and I'm only like 25 pages in and I'm already horrified. I'm already disgusted. This book just really gives you no mercy going into the beginning. And so this is a horror book set in a time where there is a plague that ended up causing animals to be uneatable. Is uneatable a word? They were not safe for consumption. So they start to breed humans as their meat source. And immediately we're kind of thrown into how this is done. They talk about skinning people. They talk about like how they're starting to reproduce, and it's crazy because they're not actually referencing them as humans other than like our main character. He's referencing them as humans, but everybody else is like, do you want a burger? Do you want a sandwich with this meat? And everybody's like, yeah. And it's already immediately making me want to be a vegetarian. And we're only 25 pages in, so I'm actually kind of scared about where this is gonna end up for me. But I'm glad that it's short. I chose this first in hopes that it would spark my reading. It would get me going since I kind of have a shortened, you know, Summerween. So I don't know if I chose correctly though. Because I'm tempted to just put this down and never pick it back up. I'm that disturbed already. But I'm gonna make my way through it. I'm gonna make my way through it. Okay, so today is my day 3 of Summerween, but technically day 6 of the full readathon. And I finished one book. I've finished Tender is the Flesh. But before I go through that, let's just quickly talk about Love Island USA, because I was watching it last night, and last night was the movie night episode, essentially where the producers put together clips of people in the villa, and the rest of the villa gets to see things that other people have said and done that they didn't know was being said and done. And I just love when people get to experience the consequences of their actions almost in real time. It was great TV, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. And I'm excited for movie night part 2 tomorrow, for sure. I was also putting together a quilt for one of my friends who just had a baby. And so I started cutting out the pieces last night. Hopefully my mom will help me put it together this weekend, because I don't have a sewing machine. But at least you guys will see me like finish putting that together. But while I was doing that, I was listening to the audiobook of Tender is the Flesh. The amount of times that I gagged, the amount of faces that I was making of pure disgust reading this book, infinite amount of times, okay? But I honestly feel like what the author set out to do in this was accomplished. You know, all of his descriptions were really vivid, and it really just made me think about how animals feel when they are bred for slaughter. And I really do feel like a lot of animals are sentient beings, you know. I just don't think that all of them are dumb. I feel like a lot of them do know what's going on. And so it's interesting to have that perspective of humans being in that position instead. Also interesting to think about like how humanity would react to that. You know, I think right now, obviously I'm disgusted, and I would like to think that I would continue being disgusted no matter the circumstances of the world. Like I wouldn't just start eating people, you know. I think I would just become a vegetarian before then. But this talks about like how people also initially were disgusted, but then it just became the new normal. I will also say there's a trigger warning for sexual assault and sexual abuse in here, and because of these heads, or you know, the humans that they produce for meat, they still have all of the same body parts and bodily functions that anybody else would have. And so there was some talks about like how people would take advantage of that because they're seen as heads or meat instead of like actual humans. I wasn't expecting there to be this element of loss that was kind of interwoven throughout the book as well. I think our main character experiences a lot of things. You question his motives for certain things, you question his decision making, but by the end it just ended up being really intriguing. I can see why a lot of people have a lot of things to say about this book after they read it. My stomach hurts a bit. I do think I will look at meat differently every time I eat it. I'm not saying that I'm gonna become a vegetarian. I'm gonna be real with you. But I think I probably will decrease my meat intake just for a little while. And I will feel bad eating the meat, you know. That's that. I'm gonna give this a 4-star. I think it was very impactful. I wouldn't say that I necessarily enjoyed reading it, but it was definitely a good book, and I would definitely recommend it if it's something that intrigues you at all. And so next up, because I only technically have like a day and a half left of this readathon, I'm going to kick it into gear with the audiobooks. So I am going to read Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This is like the one book that I was like, I have to get to in this readathon. So gonna pick this up next, and I'm actually gonna start listening to it as I go to the nail salon. I've had multiple nails break, so I'm gonna go get my nails done, and while I do that, I'm gonna listen to an audiobook. Alright, so I am about 45% of the way into Middle of the Night, and first thing I'll say about this audiobook is that I actually really do not like the audio narrator in here. I feel like he has such like a monotone voice, even when he's changing characters, but this is the only way that I can access the book right now, so we're gonna keep going on with this. So we're following a man who, when he was younger, him and his friend were going camping in his backyard, and he woke up and his friend was missing. And It's 30 years later and they still didn't know what happened to him, but the other boy comes back and starts living in the family home where the boy had disappeared, and he starts like seeing some things in the yard that make him feel really uneasy and then start to remind him of the night that his friend went missing. And we're learning a lot about like the neighbors. We're learning a lot about what happened leading up to the night that his friend disappeared. And one thing I'll say about Riley Sager, he always tries to throw in a lot of characters, and I feel like with him you just never know where it's going to end up, and I feel like he always throws like a wrench into what you think it is. Like there's an element that's creeping into the book right now that I'm like, okay, Riley, what are we doing here? And I just have a feeling that this is also just going to be one of those books that has an absolutely ridiculous ending, which obviously I'm here for. And with Riley Sager books, I feel like I can usually determine who the plot twist revolves around, but I can never get like what the plot twist actually is. And so I have an idea of who might be involved, but I'm just not sure how or in what capacity, because I don't know too much about this character yet. But I love that we're getting all of the background of all the multiple characters, because it's really just having my noggin work, you know? I feel like Riley Sager must have watched like everybody's reviews the past couple years, because this is his first book that is from a male perspective. All of his other books, his protagonist has been female. I know Home Before Dark, there was kind of a dual POV where one person was a man and the other one was a woman, but Riley was like, all right, y'all, I'm gonna write from a man so y'all can shut up. But you know, so far I'm enjoying it. I feel like his writing's still coming through, even though the perspective is a little different. So I have about 3 hours left of the audiobook. My plan for tomorrow is I'm hoping that I can listen to most of it throughout my work day, but I'm not sure how that's gonna turn out, because I do want to get to one more book before the readathon ends tomorrow, but I'm not sure how that's gonna go. So, but it is midnight 30, so I am going to take my butt to bed now, because I do have to wake up early to go to work in the morning. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Good news is that the audiobook narrator is growing on me. Also good news, I only have about an hour and a half left of the audiobook, and I am really enjoying it so far, but shit is getting weird. I'm a little concerned for Riley Sager of how he got to the place that he's going with this story, but I feel like he always just throws like a wrench into things. So it's going down one kind of weird, creepy path right now, but I'm not sure if it's gonna stay there or not, so we'll see. I'm currently on my lunch break right now from work, and I stopped by this place called Cookie Society, which if you're familiar with crumble cookies, Cookie Society is like our local version of that, and I'll say I think it's better. So I actually ended up getting 7 cookies. This only has 1 in there, but I don't want to lift up the big box. But the reason that I got these is because I'm actually going to visit my parents this weekend, / I'm going to a friend's birthday party that's in a similar area. And my mom is obsessed with these cookies now, so I went and grabbed us a few. They currently have a bunch of new flavors, one of them being like a cookie butter flavor, and like, we're a sucker for cookie butter. We're a sucker for Biscoff. So I definitely had to grab a couple of those. I grabbed like a banana pudding cookie. I grabbed a cowboy cookie that has like oatmeal, chocolate, nuts, all of that in there. But I wanted to grab these during my lunch break because I'm not gonna have time to do it after I leave work. But I'm gonna finish up my lunch break and I'm gonna stop by one of my favorite coffee shops just to pick something up, because I'm gonna need it later when I'm driving, but I don't want to drink it at like 5:30 and be up all night. So my lunchtime is the perfect time to do that. But yeah, we're gonna do that. I think I'm gonna be able to finish the book while I'm at work, and then I'll give you guys an update from there, because I think I'm still gonna try to squeeze in one more book after that. the light. Okay, I'm back in the car because I'm about to start my drive, my little mini road trip to my parents' house. But I want to give you guys an update on Middle of the Night. So I did finish listening to the audiobook while I was at work, and Riley Sager has done it again, I think. But I will say that his books for me now are becoming a little predictable, just in the sense of like, you can kind of predict how the cadence is going to work. So he does this thing where you get all of this backstory and you get to know the characters. And then like the last 50 pages, he just like turns it up. Okay. And then he turns it up with things that you really couldn't have guessed in most of the book. Like they're just kind of tidbits and plot twists that kind of just come out of nowhere, but because they're so unhinged, I still enjoy it. I will say though, the one character that I thought had something to do with it, I was correct, kind of. So I'm glad that I was still able to pick up on something, but there was no way for me to figure out that ending. Like there was just no way for me to do that. But I did really enjoy it. This book is also told in dual timelines. So you get the timeline of like the day of the kidnapping and the day before, you know, that happened 30 years in the past. And then we get present day, where our main protagonist is living back at his parents' house where this incident happened, and him kind of opening up old conversations and things like that. I will say also that I enjoyed the switch up from Riley Sager, getting from a man's perspective. I'm interested to see if he'll continue to write in a man's perspective. But you know, Riley Sager he be churning out these books every year, and I love that for him, and I love that for us. I'm giving Middle of the Night 4 stars. Okay, so we are going to head out to see my parents, and I've actually already started Murder Your Employer. I had started listening to the audiobook when the loan lapsed from my library. And so this is about a man who obviously wants to murder his employer. It's about a school and this academy type of thing where people learn the correct way to murder their employer and how to not get caught, and them being part of like this secret society kind of. And there's a lot of humor interjected in this book that I wasn't expecting. I think it's also set in like Britain, but you don't really know where it's set because the school keeps it a secret about where they're actually located, but the narrator has a British accent. So I'm correlating the two. I feel like I have to get reacclimated to like the full storyline of this, but I'm gonna try and listen to some of this on the way to my parents' house. And so I'll give you guys another update when I'm there, because I don't think I'm gonna finish it, because I just need a little break from listening to audiobooks, you know? But with that, let the mini road trip begin. So let's not talk about what day it is. Just know that the readathon is technically over. But I'm 75% of the way through Murder Your Employer, so I do want to see the book through. And so the first half of this book, we learn about some of the students at the school and their motives for wanting to kill their employer. Our main character, Cliff, we learn at the beginning of the book how he already tried to kill his employer and failed. And so he's actually sponsored by someone anonymous to go to this school because it does cost a lot of money. Throughout the story, Cliff is writing to this anonymous sponsor. It's part of his like scholarship package, or part of what he has to do to receive the training. And in the second half of the book, we're following the characters from the school as they complete their thesis, which is killing their employers. They use all of these nicknames, and some of the theses are going as planned so far, some of them aren't, and we're learning about them having to like pivot a bit, as well as like actually seeing how they're going through with the thesis. I will say that I've started to lose a little bit of interest just because I'm just not sure where we're gonna end up here. Like, you know, are they all gonna complete their thesis? Is there gonna be some type of bigger meaning or theme behind the book? But I had mentioned previously about like the humor that's kind of interwoven throughout the book, which I still am enjoying. So if you've ever watched The Kingsman, I feel like that type of humor is what this book reflects, where there is like this undertone of cheekiness as you're talking about like killing people, completing missions, kind of being a spy. But I am really enjoying that aspect, especially listening to it on audio. But it's just a little bit more slow going than I think I was expecting. I feel like the second half of the book is also starting to feel kind of like a separate book almost, and a separate story. I'm not completely understanding why we got introduced to some of the characters we got introduced to in the beginning of the book. And so it's feeling a little disjointed, but I'm hoping that by the end it'll all kind of make sense. But I'm telling myself I'm going to finish this tonight so we can wrap this up, because shame on me for not finishing this when I was supposed to. So I just got back from a workout. Don't worry, I'm sitting on my outside blanket, not sitting on my bed. I'm one of those people that I don't like sitting in my outside clothes on my bed. But during my workout and on my walk, I finished Murder Your Employer. But before I talk about that, I realized that I never showed you guys the finished quilt that I had been working on. And guys, it turned out so cute. So cute. Can you guys see? The baby's name is Enzo. I'm gonna show you guys a full view here in a second. I don't think that view worked, so I'm just gonna do this. It turned out so cute. And then on the back, I just did this plain print, and then I put "Made with Love" from Brea. This is definitely the best quilt that I've made so far, and it's my third one. But I did take a walk and I finished Murder Your Employer, and I think I'm gonna give it a 3.25. The ending actually did satisfy me more than I thought it was going to. I feel like all of the character stories kind of got wrapped up in a way that I really appreciated. It also ended in a way that opens it up for sequels. So not just Murder Your Employer, but like murder your relatives, or like murder someone from your childhood. But I'm open to reading the sequel. I just don't think it's gonna be like at the top of my list. And I think this was a really good choice for Summerween, because, you know, it talks about murder, but it did it in a very lighthearted way. So I'm glad that I got a chance to finish this up. And so to wrap it up, I feel like I had a good Summerween, aside from me not finishing it in a timely manner. You know, I feel like that's nothing new around here. Just to recap, I gave Tender is the Flesh 4 stars. In my original clip, I said that I gave Middle of the Night 4 stars, but I think I'm gonna lower that a little bit to like a 3.75. Thinking back on it, I enjoyed it, but I feel like it's just not gonna like leave a lasting impression on me like some of the other Riley Sager books. And then 3.25. So overall, not a bad time. I got some things off my TBR that I've been wanting to read, so no complaints here. And if you made it to the end of this video, leave a ghost emoji for Summerween, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.